Welcome to Fresh Catholic, a podcast for those who are converting, reverting, or simply want a fresh perspective of the Catholic faith to help them to open their hearts and minds to become closer to the love and goodness of Christ. My daily prayer is that I will be a bright light to others, to be filled with the love and light of Christ, so that when people look at me, they see Him radiating out from me for His glory. Hello and welcome. I'm Lori Balderas, and I'm so happy you're here. This week's topic is how to be a leader, or how to lead. I chose this topic because I'm fresh off a speaking event for a faculty retreat for a Catholic high school, Santa Clara High School in Oxnard, California. Go Saints! Thank you, Alec and Liz, for inviting me to that speaking event. I really enjoyed it. Since I just went and did that speaking event, and I really thought this was a good topic, I thought, I'll just make it into a podcast also. That way you'll all feel like you were there with us. So I went to talk about being a leader to some teachers, obviously a faculty. I also talked to them about being a leader in the Catholic Church. I spend a great deal of time there, and so that was a part of my discussion. But really what I had to say at the end of the speaking event, I realized really what I had to say could be in any leadership role, honestly. So I just thought that this might be a good topic. We are all either leaders now or we are capable of being leaders in some facet of our lives. There are just all sorts of areas of leadership. So the odds of somebody being a leader in some phase of their life at some point in their life is pretty high, I would say. Even though we're not all leaders, some people like to be behind the scenes more. There are all sorts of areas of leadership. There are leaders in government, the workplace, schools, teams, clubs and organizations, church, and home. If I've forgotten some, I apologize, but that's what I came up with. Someone needs to be in charge. Someone needs to run the show. Someone needs to make decisions and have the final say. Sometimes there can be more than one leader in a group, but generally there is one, maybe two leaders. If you get too many leaders, I believe it gets convoluted. I've always had strong tendencies of being a leader. Some might say even bossy. I feel I get my leadership traits from my dad. He was a great leader and mentor. He was not only a teacher, which obviously he had to be a leader if he's a teacher, but he was a scout executive and scout leader of many, many, many boys. And of course, he was a father and grandfather. So those are the leadership roles that he held. And he was just very good at it. I believe when I look at his leadership abilities and traits, deserved that leadership role. People gravitated to them. They felt like he was definitely in charge. He had that air about him. He had that way about him. And people really listened to him and gravitated to him. And he also, I would say, he really earned that leadership role because everybody knew they could trust him. And he was just a really great leader. Even though I have had traits of leadership and I think I'm a pretty good leader, maybe some people would disagree, but I think I'm a pretty good leader, there were times when I was more of a follower. And when I say that, sometimes the word follower can be a good description of somebody, but when I was a follower, I would say they were during some of the worst and most dangerous times of my life. I was a follower and fell for peer pressure. I totally fell for peer pressure. I totally did things I shouldn't have done, and it was because I was being a follower. Even though I had a really good, solid background, being raised in a certain way, and I knew right from wrong, I followed the wrong people. I did the wrong things. I would say I wasn't the captain of my own boat. And we have to remember that back in these days that I'm speaking of, I did not have God as my compass. I didn't have God as my leader. That wasn't my world back then. So I definitely fell for peer pressure quite easily. And it was honestly almost the downfall of Lori Balderas when I was Lori Bizacha. So, I don't know that I was happy about being a follower in those terms. It's okay to be a follower as long as you're doing it in a healthy way. It's okay to take direction from a leader if it's in a helpful team player way. It's okay to use your gifts that might not be gifts of leadership to help out or make a task or job easier for everybody as a follower of a leader. But I would suggest don't be a follower who gets involved in a dangerous power struggle with leader types who are seeking to hurt or harm a more accommodating person. Don't get taken advantage in any way by somebody who's claiming to be a leader who maybe is having a power struggle, holding power over you. Don't be that type of follower. For your own sake, discern that. And if you see somebody following along, doing something they shouldn't be doing, and a leader type is trying to take advantage of them, step in and save that person. That would be a really good thing to do. What do you consider the traits of a good leader? Really think about this. I asked this during my speaking event. Everybody had a different answer, and everybody had a ready answer. So I thought that was awesome. Think about the people you've looked up to for leadership. Think about those people for a minute. What did they do? Why did you consider them a leader? Why did you respond to them in a positive way? What did they do to make you think that what they were telling you was a good, positive thing that you would want to follow them? Why did you feel safe to follow them? All good questions. What were the things that helped them to stand out to you and others? Think about those people for a minute. What about them just highlighted that they were a leader that would make you trust them and want to follow them? I'll bet there were similar reasons with all these people. Let's say you chose 5 people that you thought were great leaders and you were to write down the traits. I bet you those 5 people had very similar traits. I believe that Christ is the ultimate leader. Listen to these traits I'm about to talk about of a good leader and envision Christ. Insert Christ into these things when you're thinking about leaders. Think about other leaders, but really think, oh, wow, you could put Christ in all these, I'll bet. So components of a good leader. A good leader is a good decision maker. They make good choices, but they're also willing to listen to ideas. So I think that's really important, that they're a good decision maker. I'm not always the best decision maker, but I guess when it comes down to it, I can stop and make a good decision and really think about it and decide and discern. Good decision makers don't always need their own way. They are action, not just talk. So they'll sit around and talk about something they're going to do, but then they get down to business and they actually will see it through. They'll follow through. You need that kind of leader. Otherwise, everybody's just going to sit around looking at each other like who's going to do the job or who's going to delegate what's going on. So somebody has to be the leader who says, okay, we've talked about it, we've planned it, now let's go. Joe, you go do this. Frank, you go do this. Julie, you go do this. You need a person that's going to do that.
We'll be right back.
Rising anti-Semitism. New generations redefining how they connect with Jewish traditions. Changing dynamics among Jews around the globe. Take a deep dive into these topics and more on Mosaic, Exploring Jewish Issues, the podcast brought to you by the Jewish Federation of Palm Beach County. Hear from the thought leaders, politicians, scholars, and artists at the forefront of Jewish life today. Subscribe to Mosaic, Exploring Jewish Issues, wherever you listen to podcasts.
They take chances or risks, not in a dangerous way, but in a brave way. Somebody has to be able to jump off the pier. Somebody has to be able to say, okay, now let's all do it. Here we go. And of course, again, in jumping off the pier in a safe way, not walking the plank, jumping off a pier in a safe way, holding hands all together. Let's do this together. Leaders are good communicators. They are clear and concise. They are a straight shooter and direct. They're not wishy-washy. They don't talk around an issue. They don't talk about everything but the task at hand. They are clear and concise. This is what we're going to do, when we're going to do it, how we're going to do it, where we're going to do it. And if somebody's dodging off or going off course, they will wrangle people back and get them back on track. They're a straight shooter. What do we need to do right now? And if somebody's like trying to sabotage the project, they will get it back on track. They will be direct in a nice way. They don't have to beat people over the head, but you need that as a leader. You can understand them and grasp what they're trying to say. One of my things I say, if I had $1 for every time I said this, I would be a millionaire. I'll say, does that make sense to you? Because I want to be sure if I'm getting a point across to somebody, I might know what I'm talking about. I might have this plan in my head, but I want to be sure that I'm getting my point across. So I'll say, does that make sense? And then I'll get a yes or no answer. And if it's a no, then I can continue on. If not, then I know that the person I'm talking to is grasping what I'm trying to say. So that's maybe a good thing for you to say also. Good leaders ask good questions. I think if you want to lead a group of people and you feel like you want to understand them better or understand what the project is about or what you're all trying to do together, ask good questions so that you get a better sense of what's going on and what people's thoughts and feelings are. That way you'll get a good overall picture just of what's happening, who you're working with, what the dynamic is, what the plan is, and what the goals are, and what the end result should be. It's all just good questions. As a leader, you should also be able to give educated answers. So that's great if you're asking questions, but then if somebody asks you a question, have a good solid answer. If you don't have an answer, say, that's a really good question. I'll get back to you. So if you don't have the answer, go get an educated answer so you can answer the question for the people that are asking, your followers. Good leaders have life experience and are knowledgeable. I think this is really important. I think the older and wiser people get and the more life experiences they have, the more knowledge they will possess, and then they can be a better leader. They don't just talk about things, they have actually done them. I think that is a big deal. I know this was something that my dad, that's one reason he was a good leader. He was very knowledgeable and had been involved in many experiences with all types of people in all situations, old, young, men, women, all types of people, all cultures. And I know my husband Simon has the same thing. He's a very educated person. He's very well traveled. He's had many life experiences that a lot of people haven't. Same my dad. So I think that really is engaging to people. It's interesting to people. It helps them to be a more valid leader because their world has been expanded. And so they haven't been just in one little corner of the world. And I think that really makes for a good leader because you have a more sympathetic, empathetic, understanding ear and understanding heart. Leaders are motivational. They have a positive, magnetic attitude that draws people in. I mean, think about leaders where if they're dynamic, if they have a positive attitude, it really draws you in. You lean in. You want to hear more about this person. You want to be on their team. You want to be a part of their vision because they're drawing you in. I think
with all that being said, they also need to be very genuine. I mean, they can't be what my dad would call a snake oil salesman. They can't just be all talk without the things to back them up. You should be able to feel confident that what they're telling you is true and that they're genuine in what they're telling you. That helps you to trust them more. I think this trait, this motivational trait of a leader, gets people excited about seeing what's next. Like, where is this leader going to take us? What is going to happen? How exciting is this? If they're mediocre or ho-hum or yawn, you're not going to want to follow them. It's going to be like, we'll go over here to this other more exciting person. I had a teacher in 7th and 8th grade. He was my social studies teacher in 7th grade, my English teacher in 8th grade. And when I was writing this, I was thinking of Mr. Crumpschmidt. He was an amazing teacher, one of my very favorite teachers. And when I had him for social studies, he was fascinating. I hung on every word. And it wasn't just me, it was the entire class. There was no chattering going on in that class. He made every lesson very interesting because he'd been to the places. He had photos and artifacts and things. I just was completely enamored with this teacher. And then when he was my English teacher, I remember coming home and saying to my mom, he even makes a comma interesting. So shout out Mr. Crumpschmidt. He was awesome. I know everybody would agree with me. He was a great teacher, but I think he got people excited about to see what tomorrow's class would be. He was a phenomenal leader and teacher. I think good leaders set a good example. I think a good leader is honest and trustworthy. You should know that what they're telling you is true and that they mean it. And they need to be responsible and dependable for a leader. If a leader asks you to be somewhere on a certain day to do a certain thing, then they better be there. They better be ready to go. They better have their ducks in a row and be ready to walk the walk with their followers and the people that they're working with. They follow through. If they say they're going to be there, they say they're going to do something, they need to do it and follow through. They can't expect their whole group to show up and then they're nowhere to be found, or they're late, or they couldn't be bothered to be on time and be put together and ready to go. That's not fair. That's not right. They need to do what they say they're going to do so that their followers and people can count on them. You need to be the leader at a good standard. They need to mean what they say. So I believe that when you're a leader, you need to be the person that you are, the leader that you are, whether you're at home, on the job, or out and about in the world. I gave this example to the teachers of the faculty of this high school. If they are telling their students that these certain things are important to them, or that they value things, and they're trying to teach their students to be that way, and they're being a leader, if their student sees them out and about in the world and they're not doing the things that they've just taught and preached in the classroom, they're going to lose all credibility as a leader. And this goes for people in the church. I am a Catholic 24/7. If you see me out and about, I'm the same Lori out on my walk at the beach, on set when my husband and I are filming, or with my family, or in church. I'm the same Lori. I don't turn it off and on. So I feel that gives me credibility first of all, as a Catholic and a leader and a human, that I'm the same person. I want people to know that. And if you see me out and about and I'm doing something that's not to that level, that's not good. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that person. When you're a leader, don't be a tyrant or a dictator. That's not good. That's not good leadership. A good leader is firm but fair. You should be firm because you're the leader. You don't want to be all wishy-washy and lukewarm and all these things. You need to be firm, but you need to be fair. Treat people the people around you, the people that you're working with and following you, treat those people with value and respect. You would want to be treated that way, so treat others that way. And don't ask somebody to do something for you as a dictator or tyrant that you wouldn't do. Don't make a person do something because it's below you and you can't do it. Are you willing to dig a ditch? Don't ask somebody to do it if you're not willing to do it. Are you willing to clean up some dirty, disgusting mess? If you're not willing to do it, don't make somebody else do it. What makes you think that you're better? Be encouraging to the people that are following you or looking to you for leadership when they're struggling. Be really sympathetic and empathetic to them when they're struggling. Don't just brush them aside and think that you're better than them and you can't help them. As a leader, you should help them. How can I help you? My husband has said this to me before when I'm struggling, or Deacon Don says this to me sometimes. How can I help you? What will help you? How can I be of assistance to you to help you? And they're leaders to me. Deacon Don is a definite leader to me, but he's also willing to help me to do my best job, as a follower or as somebody that's working for him. I really appreciate that. I need him and I need my husband when I'm struggling. I need those people to help me and encourage me so that I can do my best job and we can all work together and make a good product or a good event. Leaders should also be grateful for the hard work that the people around them are doing. Like, for example, I have an assistant in my weddings. I'm so grateful for her. She always knows I'm grateful. I thank her before, during, and after the event. I will text her and thank her again. I'm so grateful. She makes my job so much more doable and manageable, and I'm so grateful for her. So be grateful to the people that are on your team who are helping you, because you can't do it by yourself. You could, I guess, be a leader by yourself, but then who are you leading? You need your team and you should be grateful for them. And that's going to make your team want to work with you and for you and want to do a good job with you and for you. So if you are doing all these things, then you are a great leader. We all want strong leadership in our lives and in our world. We all want to feel secure with a good leader. If our leaders are weak, if they lie, if they cheat, if they steal, how can we trust them? How can we follow them? We can't. I don't think we can. And I don't think we have super great leaders right now. So if you find a good leader, glom onto them and really work together with them. But we don't want weak leaders. We don't want lying, cheating, stealing leaders. Consistency, honesty, dependability, and moral strength are all things that people need in a leader. I think those are really important things. We should teach our children to be respectful of leaders. Their first experience with leadership is with their parents and their grandparents. They will learn about leaders and leadership from you. Then, of course, they go on to learn about leadership from their teachers or from authority. And I know people struggle with these things right now, teaching children to be respectful of leaders. Right now in our world, it's being made to turn children and people away from authority, and that's not good. We need to be respectful of our leaders. They need to learn to follow the leader, not just in the game, but they need to learn to follow the leader and learn from the leader. But that being said, we all need to be good role models so that we can teach our children what is a good leader, to discern what's the difference of a good leader and a bad leader. If somebody's hurting or harming your children, step in, take care of that, help them to realize, oh, this person is actually out to hurt you and harm you. Come tell me, your parent. Come tell your grandparent. Go tell a trusted adult that this person is not doing the right thing. We need to teach our children that. That's really important. So be good role models. We can't expect our children to be future leaders if we can't teach them what that is, be a good role model, explain to them what is a good leader and why, and the difference between a good leader and a bad leader. We have to teach them that so that they can be a future leader. And I would say lead with a pure heart, free from pride and arrogance. The leader of our hearts, minds, and souls should be Jesus. There's no other leader as valuable as he is. So now that I've done this entire episode, can you see what I mean by everything I've said? Jesus is the poster boy for the most awesome leader. That's who your number one compass and guide should be, is Jesus. When you're trying to discern and decide how to do something, he is the best leader. He's the one where if he wouldn't have done it, probably not a good choice. If he wouldn't have led in a certain way, or a leader that you're under right now, try to envision, would Jesus be doing this right now? If he's not leading you in the way of Christ, it's probably not a good choice. So remember, be a leader in the world, but a follower of Christ. And now, some fresh Catholic news. My Patreon has launched. Yay! Please go check out my Patreon channel and have a look at the different ways that you can help support my mission. I am excited to evangelize, but I need your help to keep my podcast going. There's a little commercial on there, and there are 6 levels to choose from. Something for everyone. When you subscribe, you will get exclusive content and even some merch. Also, I have teamed up with Sock Religious, my favorite sock company, and you can now purchase their socks from my website on the podcast page. How cool is that? So exciting. They have a huge variety of amazing products that will knock your socks off. There's something for everyone, and they make great gifts. So please go check it out. Thank you for your support on both. Also, as usual, please check out my social media. Please follow me at Fresh Catholic. I have 30-second videos there, but they are getting longer. But check them out and please share with your friends. Also, check out my YouTube channel for short montage versions of my podcast episodes, and more are coming. Please like, subscribe, and share my daily videos, and rate and review my podcast, and let your friends and family know about it as well. Let me know if you have a group that would like me to come speak. I would love that. I really do appreciate your support, and keep an eye out for my merch, which is coming soon. Also, I have something to add to my Fresh Catholic mailbag. So I have a shout out to Eddie from Pennsylvania, who attends St. Anthony's Parish in Pittsburgh, for reaching out to me via email at lori@freshcatholic.com, my email address. And Eddie was just so lovely to reach out to me. He is so inspiring with his story. He just has the best positive attitude throughout many trials he has had, which he shared with me. I won't share here because he sent it to me privately, but I just was so inspired by him, and I just think he is my favorite kind of Fresh Catholic listener. He is very positive, and he was even turned away from the Catholic faith for some time, and he has returned. So how exciting is that? Way to go, Eddie. God is good. Stay strong and keep listening to Fresh Catholic, and email me anytime you like with updates. I would love it. Thanks for everyone tuning in today. I'm so grateful for you all. Thank you. Love you. Bye.
Thank you for joining me today. Now go out and be a bright light in someone's life. And remember, be focused, be faithful, and be fresh.
Fresh Catholic is produced, edited, and recorded at Wonder Mouse Studios in Ventura, California.